Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump is refusing to comply with Democrats in Congress. So they're demanding people within his administration testify in Congress about the Mueller report. And this is at the Hill. Trump, no reason for White House to comply with congressional investigations. See, he fights. I love that. President Trump on Tuesday said he doesn't want current and former White House aides to testify in front of Congress following the release of the special counsel Mueller's report. It is a done case. It's case closed. There's no more discussion. There's no collusion, and there isn't even any obstruction. There's no collusion, no obstruction. It was an unlawful probe to begin with, but now he's just not complying. He's refusing to play the game anymore. He has an attorney general. First of all, they want his taxes. William Barr is not going to allow that. So the Treasury Department, check out my last segment, the Treasury Department missed the timeline to give to give Democrats in Congress Trump's taxes, which, as if that would ever happen. And so he's, the Treasury Department, Steve Mnuchin, is told Democrats, well, we have to wait to see what William Barr says. There's no way William Barr is going to allow this to take place. What are they going to do? Go to the Supreme Court? It's a conservative Supreme Court. They're going to ask, well, why do you want his taxes? Why do you want people to testify in the Mueller report? The Mueller team, composed of attorneys who gave over $50,000 to the Democratic Party, Clinton, and President Obama. These people did not indict Trump on either obstruction, was certainly not collusion, and didn't indict Trump on obstruction. Now, don't fall for two narratives. One, the narrative that, well, you know, they let William Barr decide obstruction. They could have indicted Trump on obstruction if they wanted to. Why do you think they wanted to interview him, to get him in a perjury trap? They would have indicted him for perjury had they interviewed him if he didn't remember that he ate cornflakes the day before or 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks prior. If he didn't remember what he had for dessert at a lunch 3 weeks prior to the interview, they would have said that they did that to Papadopoulos, literally about an email. They said, oh, well, you had emailed this person in April, Joseph Mifsud, the British intelligence operative / alleged Russian intelligence operative. And we know that he had ties to British intelligence from Elizabeth Voss when she was writing at Disobedient Media. But they could have indicted him. They decided not to. The ploy is that, well, you know, we're going to allow William Barr to decide. No, you just wanted to pass the buck to Barr, so he would then take the heat for it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Democratic Party, without Twitter and without media, is absolutely in shambles. It's absolutely irrelevant. Their policies are not feasible. And if I'm wrong about that, Medicare for All is not going to pass a democratically controlled Congress, a House. It's not going to. So let's say Medicare for All is fantastic, and I mean, it would be wonderful if it was feasible, but it's not feasible. It's not feasible. You'd have to double to triple tax collection, according to the Mercatus study. And for 320 plus million people, we're not a small country that could implement that. But see, the thing is, Bernie Sanders doesn't say, nobody says, hey, why don't we actually vote in the House that is controlled by Democrats? They can pass any legislation they want, ladies and gentlemen. Why do you think they refuse to pass this legislation? Because they want to run on the hope and the dream that one day it'll happen, knowing full well they're never going to pass the legislation or go into an election with double to triple tax collection from Medicare for All, or abolishing ICE because President Obama deported more people, 2.5 million human beings than any other president ever. They're petrified of voting for a Green New Deal, not even the resolution, which is, a resolution. They did not look. My point is there's record low Black and Latino unemployment, and women, female women throughout the country are experiencing record lows in unemployment. They're working. People are working. The economy is moving. There are jobs wanted signs. There are more jobs available than people to fill them. Democrats are petrified. They don't know what to do. I mean, there's only so much you could say Trump, orange man, racist monster. There's only so much you can say. You can't repeat that. So they want his taxes. They want to talk about the Mueller report, and he's not complying. And they can't force him to comply. It's kind of hilarious. It really is. This is the Washington Post. Trump says he is opposed to White House aides testifying in Congress, deepening power struggle on the Hill. President Trump on Tuesday said he is opposed to current and former White House aides providing testimony to congressional panels in the wake of the special counsel report, intensifying a power struggle. What power struggle? Democrats have no power. They have no influence. They've already lost. They've wasted 2 years of American history. Actually, look, peace between North and South Korea, the beginning of peace between North and South Korea is an amazing thing. This is the type of, foreign policy achievement that no other president has been able to achieve. Bringing home Americans from counterinsurgency conflict, record lows in terms of Black and Latino unemployment. And you look, there's wonderful charts that show unemployment reaching a high in President Obama's administration for key voting demographics in the Democratic Party. And then that same chart shows a low in terms of unemployment. People are working. So if you say, well, GDP is not a great, stock market's not a great indicator of the economy, whatever, unemployment is. People are working. And it's very difficult for Democrats to say, well, we're going to investigate you without a predicate crime. See, Clinton, on the other hand, committed crimes. She transferred top secret and special access program intelligence outside of the United States government. Then she had the audacity the other day to say, oh, well, Trump should have been indicted. Well, she should have been indicted. And James Comey covered everything up. And they also went after conservatives via the IRS. And Lois Lerner and the IRS had to apologize. And they went after Trump with the FBI and everyone else, and Comey and Strzok and Clapper. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, it is the 104th anniversary of the Armenian Genocide. And I wrote, U.S. Israel must recognize the Armenian Genocide in the Times of Israel today. So that will be below. Share that everywhere, please. That is greatly appreciated. So it's H.A. Goodman, April 24th, 2019. This is the 104th anniversary of the Armenian Genocide. 1.5 million Armenians were murdered in the Ottoman Empire. And so U.S. Israel must recognize Armenian Genocide formally. I do believe both the United States and Israel should formally recognize an historical fact. So, and share the article everywhere. It's in the Times of Israel, and that will be below. I should have brought that up in the beginning of the segment, but anyway. So if you look, Trump, no reason for White House to comply with congressional investigations. He's refusing to comply with congressional investigations. What are they going to do? They can't force him to comply if the Justice Department says no. If they go to the Supreme Court, they're not going to force Trump to comply because he hasn't committed any crimes. See, there is no pay-to-play schemes with Trump. There is no 85 donors giving $156 million. Here's just an example. They're like, well, we want to see your taxes. Okay, this is not on Hillary's tax returns. 85 donors, 156 million. So, this is an Associated Press article. And it's really hilarious because then like Vox immediately said that's not true. She met with a whole lot more people than just 85 people. It's like, what is that even? It's not a rebuttal. Combined, 85 donors contributed as much as $156 million. At least 40 donated more than $100,000 each, and 20 gave more than $1 million. Hello, why did they do this? For altruistic reasons? And then they ask AOC, why do you want to impeach Trump? She's like, I think emoluments is the most important. And it's like, you're talking about the emoluments clause? Okay. 85 donors giving $156 million into the Clinton Foundation, but what, foreign countries giving millions and then getting weapons deals? That's a greater, more egregious example of the emoluments clause. Just because they're not giving to the Clintons directly, it's being funneled through the Clinton Foundation in terms of networking and future favors. That's the way they operate. They don't just pocket the money. They think long term. They think in terms of networking. That's why you have $100,000 to $300,000 plate networking functions at actors' homes that are fundraisers for Clinton, because people have to fund their films. And you have all of these wealthy people in one location. And they're drinking and they're talking, and it's, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Hey, you know what? You want to fund this film? That's what the Clintons did in Haiti, raising $10 billion. The people of Haiti only saw 3% of that. UBS gave money to the Clinton Foundation, and then Hillary hooked them up. The IRS wanted 4,000 or 5,000 people to in terms of them to audit or whatever, and they only got like 1,000 or 500. These are all high profile people who had bank accounts that were hidden. But anyway, look, the point is, Boeing got a $3 billion Russian deal in addition to the Uranium One. Okay, so Uranium One gave money into the Clinton Foundation. Then a beneficial outcome took place. You can't the thing is that you cannot look at the Clintons. Bill and Hillary Clinton have influence that you cannot quantify. And now, this is their last stand in terms of political influence. She's running again. She's going to run again because they have absolutely nobody. They have nobody who could get close to winning Florida, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. They have nobody who could come close to winning swing states. You have to win swing states. You have to raise over $1 billion. They outspent Trump 2-1. They still lost. The economy's doing great. Key voting demographics for the Democratic Party are, their wealth is increasing. The foreign policy is good. We have the beginning of peace between North and South Korea. We don't have any foreign policy debacles like the destruction of Libya. It's generally good. And the Democratic Party is basically run by Hillary. Donna Brazile wrote that in Politico. They don't have a political party. They don't even have a political movement because they're also suffering from a lack of ideas. Their ideas cannot be implemented in Congress. That's why you see AOC and everybody else on Twitter 24/7. But they're not pushing legislation. You see pundits on the left pontificating. But they're not. There's no Medicare for all being passed in Congress because it's not feasible. That's why, if I'm wrong about that, then why aren't they voting on a bill? There are two bills. There's one in the Senate. So Democrats in the Senate aren't voting for that bill, and one in the House. But we're at a crossroads right now as a country. We're at a crossroads right now as a nation and as a country. And I know how this is going to play out, and I know how this is going to, Trump is going to win yet again. And when he does, Democrats and liberals and most progressives and everyone on the left, there won't be a blame game. There'll be, oh my God, we don't really, like the Clintons helped destroy the Democratic Party, but it's even more than that. Eventually, Clinton will get indicted because, I mean, you're talking about an overt criminal with overt pay-to-play schemes, transferring top-secret intel outside of the United States government. I mean, Aldrich Ames and Robert Hansen didn't even do that on servers. What they did is they gave classified top-secret data via papers, like, documents, like actually physical documents. They didn't have servers outside of the United States government the whole planet could hack into. All of her emails were siphoned out real time from China. Charles McCullough stated that. He's the Inspector General of the intelligence community. Louis Gohmert said that. That was to Peter Strzok. In Congress. But it's more than just Clinton. I mean, Clinton will ultimately obliterate the Democratic Party. They don't see it. They think they're, in the driver's seat with the media, even with the failed collusion. They have Twitter. They have these psychological safety nets called Twitter and late night talk shows and CNN and the Washington Post. That's their blankie. That's their safety net. So they can fall with the Mueller report. They can fall with losing the election. They can fall with cheating Bernie Sanders. They can fall with pretending to care about, issues like Medicare for all that they can't even implement. They won't even vote on. But at the end of the day, they suffer two problems. One is that they're pretty much run by a couple, the Clintons, and even Donna Brazile wrote about that in Politico. Two, they don't really have ideas. The Green New Deal legislation, the resolution, is hilarious when you take it in the context of President Obama presiding over the largest expansion of oil and gas production in American history, domestic. Even he was even bragging about the fact that the U.S. is the world's number one producer of fossil fuels or oil producer in the world. He's like, oh, I did that, everyone. And then you get AOC, the world's going to end in 12 years. So, and then you get it's this groupthink. Like AOC was interviewed by a journalist, and this journalist is like, I think it's apparent that everybody knows your intellect is grandiose. I forgot what he said. And the rest of humanity is looking at that like, okay, whatever you say. Yeah. What a profound intellect. Denies Long Island City of 107,000 direct and indirect jobs. Don't ever say it's 25,000 Amazon jobs. They were going to build a headquarters for 40,000 people, and an economy is like an ecosystem. You generate wealth in a community. You get 25,000, then 40,000 employees from Amazon. But how many food trucks? How many mom and pop restaurants? How many dry cleaners? How many janitorial services? How many construction companies? Just think of all the employment that could have popped up around the Amazon headquarters. The rents would go up. It's like, okay, but think of all the employment. You'd have more money in that area. The average person would be making more money in that area because there would be more opportunities to make money. But the left doesn't see that now. It's only taxes. They think tax revenue is what drives the economy. It doesn't. It's not even what drives the government. A growing economy eventually drives the government because then you'll have more tax revenue. They don't get that. And the thing is, when I was writing 100 articles in the Huffington Post, The Hill and Salon, and I'm now published in the Jerusalem Post and the Federalist and the Daily Caller, but when I was writing in In the Huffington Post, the Hill and Salon, and I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet. And the Washington Post called me the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters. I never talked about Bernie. Like, I didn't like the fact that Bernie is now viewed as this like socialist, icon. That's not what drove me to Bernie Sanders, and that's not really even what he taught. What he never even really brought it up. In fact, Ezra Klein interviewed him, and the first thing he said, to in a way disparage Bernie, was, "Oh, you're a socialist, huh?" He's like, "No, democratic socialist." And he hardly even explained what it was against Clinton. I mean, that wasn't the thing. The thing was, bringing home Americans, ending quagmires, breaking up too big to fail banks, a whole bunch of issues that he never talks about now. Then he got cheated. Then he became the ID politics wannabe, and then still it's not, and still he doesn't get love from the left. Like, you can't win on the Twitter liberal left, whatever it is, monstrosity. You can't. There's no way to win. The I'm with her crowd and the ID politics, they can't stand Bernie Sanders. And then there are like 10 Bernie Sanders clones. Then Pete Buttigieg is not getting love from the Bernie Sanders people. Then you have AOC and the other progressive congresswomen who are gifts to Trump. And they don't see it. Like, they're like, yeah, we're really, speaking truth to power. It's like, no, you're on Twitter and you're getting retweeted and you're doing nothing in terms of legislation. So, like, my point, long-winded point, is that they don't have a political movement. They have nothing. They control the House. They can pass legislation left and right. They can force Trump to veto Medicare for all. They could force Trump to veto a Green New Deal. They could force Trump to veto abolishing ICE. They could force Trump to veto all of this legislation. He's never going to veto any of it because they're not going to pass any of it because they know it's not feasible. It sounds really good to people who have this kind of fetish on trying to be morally superior. Like, the country is running generally. Of course there are injustices. Of course there are things that need to work better. But the country is generally running pretty well now. And they're like, oh my God, what's this new, thing we could champion because we have to, but they don't have anything. It's very difficult to talk to people about an unjust economy when people are working. It's very difficult to call Trump this tyrant when he wants to bring home Americans from counterinsurgency conflicts. I would debate anyone and easily defeat anyone in a debate because the pedestal they stand upon to judge Trump is the Obama years and Clinton's political history. You take all the statements Clinton has ever made and all the horrible things she's ever done, from helping destroy Libya to, saying she survived Bosnian sniper fire. And then you take the Obama years, and if you stand on that kind of pedestal, you have zero right to judge Trump, because he's objectively a very good president. Then you get into like the, he represents this and that nonsense. Whereas when President Obama drank Flint water to deceive people, I wonder what he was representing. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Share my Times of Israel article. The U.S. and Israel must recognize the Armenian Genocide formally, and I do believe that. Today is the 104th anniversary of the Armenian Genocide, and if you're Armenian and you're watching this channel, I love you, and I love everyone who watches this channel, but God bless you, and this is a day always that I will always remember. Every April 24th, I try to write, and I've written a lot. I've written in the Huffington Post numerous articles stating the same thing. And I believe also the Jerusalem Post. I've written an article, and it was a couple of years back, and this year. But in the Huffington Post, yearly, I used to write every April 24th. Sometimes they would be published before then. But anyway, give me your thoughts below. Share this segment everywhere. Thank you so very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Trump is refusing to comply. He's just not complying. He's like, yeah, what are you gonna do? What you gonna do? You're not gonna do nothing. You're doing nothing. My Patreon link is also below if you want to support my voice. Thank you so very much.